to our most current live video. I see two people already here. Hello, I see Jessie. Hello, Jessie. Lots of love to all of you. I'm feeling a little bit more energetic today, so I wanted to get out there and spread the good word and, share information as needed at this time. A very interesting moment of collective awakening. So, this particular video is a brief astrological overview pinpointing the most important details that we would ideally be better off knowing before we actually come up to certain key transits and so on. So this is more of a standard astrological video, but the reasons I'm saying it is purely energetic. At the end of the day, energy trumps astrology in all ways. Astrology is just a tool. It is not energy itself. It is a tool to understand some of the psychic and spiritual currents of this lifetime and how it is influenced by previous lifetimes. But it is not actual spirit. And that is something that those who practice astrology need to be reminded of a lot, because there is this very false sense of knowing, a false illusion of control that comes when you believe you can kind of box everything in the universe onto a 2D representation of the stars. That does not work. Ultimately, the best astrologers and psychics are people who you will see, kind of looking at both paradigms, looking at both modalities as co-constructive and mutually reinforcing. But I am going off on a tangent. But either way, there are two reasons for me to talk about what I'm talking about today. Now, the first big thing that comes up, and I've looked from today till the 23rd of November, I'm just going to go on the most important things. The first big thing that comes up, that it's already happening now, it is already present right now. Jupiter is in the late degrees of Pisces at this moment. And Jupiter is back in Pisces as part of its retrograde. And in fact, right now it's at 29 degrees of Pisces. And those of you who have any interest in astrology need to know that anything at 29 degrees of Pisces activates a very powerful karmic current. So if you have 29 degrees Pisces in your chart, if you see this particular degree being aspected by something big, especially something like Jupiter, like Uranus, like Saturn, like Neptune, like the nodes, you can be very, very sure that a lot of karmic energy is getting churned up, which is why people need to be looking at resting, looking at their hormones, looking at their endocrine systems. They need to be really just allowing themselves to take it slow, to calm down, to look at what presents itself in the here and now, and understand that the origins of what you're seeing in front of you may not even be something that is that obvious in the here and now. Very often people are going through very intense, sometimes very painful karmic cycles, and they feel like they don't know what to do because they don't see the larger karmic pattern that is behind this. And this is where we need to be reminded, no matter how overwhelming things may be seeming right now, no matter how woolly, how wild, or just how, caught in a caught in a blender or in a spin cycle of a washing machine, that kind of feeling, no matter how much of that is going on right now, the most important thing that we can do is to take a step back and to look at the larger perspective. And of course, there's already a lot of very intense water energy in general in the skies right now, just because, we see at this moment, we see the sun in Scorpio, we see the moon in Cancer, Mercury and Venus are also in Scorpio, Jupiter is in Pisces, Neptune is in Pisces, and of course other things. But I'm keeping it simple for this crowd, not because you can't handle the rest, but just because at the end of the day, it can get distilled into the same lessons. So, there's a lot of swirling, whirling, emotional, psychic energy and sensitivity going about. You have got to protect your own energetic fields. You have got to say no to taking on the baggage and the burden of others, because it doesn't help them and it doesn't help you. Helping people needs to happen, but within limits that allow yourself to regenerate yourself and to do things sustainably. The group who has given me the financial means to take to heal my body in my own way. So I've been offering free sessions to them. Thank you for their continued patronage. So, and in that sense, I am rebalancing what I have been given. But in your case, it might be different. Maybe you have been receiving things. Maybe it's time for you to rebalance that emotional energy in a certain way, or maybe it's time for you to also be contributing and putting some of all of that intensity into something constructive, something creative, something nurturing, something giving. That's another way to work around all of this swirling psychic energy that's present right now. And we see this energy swirl come to a head on the 15th of November, where we see the Sun at 22 degrees Scorpio trine Neptune, 22 degrees of Pisces. Psychically sensitive people need to be extra clear about their protection at this time. If you work with some understanding of deity, some understanding of angels, or whatever your practice is, you need to keep your guard up. It does not matter how beautiful something looks. It does not matter how convincing something sounds. This is a time where illusions are very, very high. And there is a certain spiritual vanity that facilitators often fall to, especially when one believes that some being from out there has suddenly decided to pop open and say, hey, there's a rainbow just for you. Listen to what I'm saying and let me into your body. And of course, a lot of people fall for this. So do not do that out of the blue all of a sudden, unless A, you have the training to do so, and B, it is something that truly comes from within you. Psychic receptivity is going to be very, very high. So please use the right kind of psychic protection and also be very clear with your boundaries. If your boundaries are clear, if you feel grounded in yourself, then you can afford to be open. But if you don't, you're basically just letting in the equivalent of psychic sludge and mud into your system. Another thing that comes up, especially with all of this swirling emotional and psychic energy, is that a lot of it is often connected to ancestry. And if you are, especially a First Nations person, or if you are someone who is dealing with a direct, epigenetic imprint of slavery, it becomes the ancestor question becomes very, very tricky. Very often, people want to carry the burden that their family lineage has been carrying for generations because they automatically assume it is part of their identity. Moving into whatever new vibration of consciousness actually requires us to draw that line, to have compassion not only for ourselves, but the various experiences of others that have allowed us to be who we are, and to give them the freedom to actually move away certain traumatic cycles of karma that have been repeated again and again and again. And this is something that also comes up, especially for those of you who are doing spirit work of any kind, especially those of you who practice very strong indigenous and ancestral traditions. You do not need to replay that same karmic cycle to honor or revere the people who made you who you are in different ways. You can actually choose a different path, because at the end of the day, whether you have biological children or not, your energy leaves an imprint upon this earth, however big, however small. And even if you want to call that an ancestor down the line, you too have a say in the way we move forward as a consciousness, as a collective. So that is something I want you to bear in mind, especially coming up in the next few days. So as I said, the Sun trines Neptune, 15th of November. Venus on the same day trines Jupiter, Venus at 28 Scorpio, Jupiter at 28 Pisces. So all of these are very strong water energies. They're all going to be pulling at you in different ways. And Venus is going to make you want to look at those deep desires that are coming up. Just bear in mind, Venus gets, it's associated with just about every facet of material existence. But Venus has more benevolent manifestations and less benevolent manifestations. Just because something is really pulling at you, you need to ask yourself, is this karma? Is this trauma? Is this an addiction to drama? Or is this something that you actually feel is coming from that most deep, intimate, personal part of your soul that is awakening to something greater than itself, that is in alignment? That is a question that you need to keep asking yourself. All of us need to at this time. Also, on the 15th of November, we see a very, very powerful alignment between the moon in Leo, the mean north node in Taurus, the mean south node in Scorpio, Uranus in Taurus, Saturn in Aquarius. We are basically seeing another reactivation of the Saturn Uranus square. There's a lot of explosive energy and you do generally just need to tread a lot more carefully. Really, I would say this is a time, unless you really know what you're doing, to just rest, observe, do something creative, look at the pulls, look at the different ways that different things are trying to pull at your attention in different ways, and sit down and navigate through it bit by bit, step by step. 16th of November, 17th of November are also dates where energy is shifting because Venus and Mercury, respectively, will be moving out of Scorpio and into Sagittarius. And that kind of sets the tone for finding the new meaning, the path forward. Astrology is very much the cave and, the dark cave and the abyss. Sagittarius, which is pretty much the energy of the mountain, you see that there is a kind of a movement and emergence that is happening at this time. So allow yourself to go through that process of a deep inner work, but give yourself that permission to also come to the surface because that is what needs to be happening at this time. And I know for so many of us, it feels like we've been treading water or we've just flat out been forced into the earth for so long. This, I hope, will be a moment of kind of coming back to the surface for all of us in different ways. The 16th of November also still sees a lot of that water energy activated with Mercury at 28 degrees of Scorpio, trine Jupiter at 28 degrees of Pisces. Venus would have just done that as well. There's still a lot of strong psychic discernment that's required, a lot of strong activations in dreams, and not all of that is necessarily good. The 17th of November also brings the need for caution, where we see Uranus at 16 degrees of Taurus, trining Therius, the hunter stalker, at 16 degrees of Virgo. If you've got anything near 16 degrees of Capricorn, it becomes a grand Earth trine. The Uranus Therius trine is very important in that for some of you, it's going to open the doors to help you find new ways to heal. If there's something that's really been bugging you, if there's something that's really been draining you, this is going to be a time where you can actually find those pathways of healing for some of you. And for others, especially those who have not wanted to hear the message, those who have been ignoring the warnings that have been given, those who have not taken care of themselves in their immediate environment, those who have not looked at their health, those who have not even tried to be aware of what are the energetic influences in their space, then those of you in that category may have a very rude awakening. Either way, given that Uranus is involved, it is very much a wild card to begin with. So, 17th of November, I also want you to exercise a lot of physical caution. Don't take for things for granted. Make sure that your home is secured and just take things a little bit slower and again observe what comes. 19th of November, we see Mars at 22 degrees of Gemini, squared Neptune at 22 degrees of Pisces, another big wild card energy. So, once again, make sure you're not rushing into things either through your thoughts or the way you move in your immediate environment and space or the way you speak to people in your immediate environment. Just because something feels like it's old or it's coming from a different place than your everyday consciousness doesn't necessarily mean that it is good or aligned. Take the time, breathe, observe, see what comes up before charging in. And that also applies to the physical level. 21st of November, we see the Sun also at 28 degrees of Scorpio, trining Jupiter once again, 28 degrees of Pisces. This water theme just keeps on going on for a bit. We also see on the 21st of November Mercury conjunct Venus at 7 degrees Sagittarius, which is exciting for me because once again, it is that energy of despite all of this churning that's happening deep in our collective subconscious and individual subconscious, there is still this light that is being shown at the end of the tunnel. And we have to hold on to what is being shown to us and to move forwards towards it. 22nd of November, we see another shift in the energy as the Sun leaves Scorpio, entering Sagittarius, bringing that rushing feeling of new movement, new direction back in. 23rd of November, we see the new moon with the sun and the moon together at 1 degrees of Sagittarius, really giving us that push and that impulse to look at what new trajectories, new destinations, new dreams we want to be pointing ourselves towards on the basis of what we have been churning for quite some time now. So it's really about taking that aim and putting it out there to say, this is what I want, this is what I want to learn, this is the road I want to take, this is where I want to be, this is where your dreams are things that you actually need to say out loud so that you can actualize them if they are in alignment with your soul's path anyway. And the thing is, it's significant because this particular new moon also happens on the same day that Jupiter stations direct. And that is also going to bring a big psychic shift in all of us in that churning, whirling, all chaotic feeling. And we can actually see that come to, I'm not going to say come to an end, but come to an end of a particular phase of intensity as Jupiter stations direct. So in other words, it's going to feel like a cosmic spin cycle, but you got to keep looking at the light at the end of the tunnel and still walking towards it. And that's really, in a nutshell, the summary for what's going to be coming up in the next couple of days. But do be aware of that Uranus Darius trine, and also be especially aware again of tangible physical challenges that may come, whether it is through health, whether it is through physical security and safety. Do not take little things for granted at this time. And sometimes those same little things can actually show you a gateway, a breakthrough of understanding, but only if you're really willing to pay attention to the small details. So, having said that, that's what I wanted to share with all of you in this video, since I had a little bit of extra energy today. Yay, me. And now I'm going to go look at questions and comments, because you know what I'm like. If I'm in the flow, I'm in the flow, and then, I circle back to you and see what needs to be said. So, having said that, let's pick the phone up and let's see. So I see Jessie, hello. I see Candy. I see Sky Blue. I see V Stomfeld. I see Sheena. I see Cecily. I see Magneto. Hello, brother. I see Chiron. I see Overflow. I see Dawn. I see Brandy. A lot of you are either tier 23 or former tier 23. Hello, hello, hello. So, oh, okay, yay for extra energy. Happy to hear it. Thank you. So that's a little snippet of what's coming up. Lantern Hill, hello, hello. How are you? And how is the pirate cat? So good to see you and hope you're feeling better. There are good days, there are bad days. Today is, I would say, a better day. So I see Kauta, hello. I see Melissa. Hi, Dr. B, and to your brother and the kitties. The kitties are okay. They have all been psychically heavy lifting as they tend to, because they're very ambitious souls. Um, Nothing can be done about that. It's just who they are. Very, very ambitious. They make me look tame, which says something. So that's what's happening. That's what's going on. And now you have a little bit of a heads up. You can go do stuff with it. Now, with respect to what I have said, are there any questions? Let me know. I'll give you a couple of minutes to think about that. We can do a hello neighbor some other time depending on what my energy levels are. Rin says ciao, but it's so good to see you. Jacques, nice to see you too. Thank you. Yeah. Any important questions that come up through this? Let me know. Let me know. Beyond that, yeah, just been taking it one day at a time, living my truth, living my path. It's not glamorous, but spirit often isn't. And sometimes cool things happen, but they happen in those everyday moments. So if you can remember that, it'll help you a lot. Um, Sheena says it's so soupy, hard to have questions about it. It's true. It literally feels like we're in soup right now. So Sheena's point is true. Lantern Hill says Pirate Cat is not happy with the dog I adopted in June. He's otherwise doing well. Show me a doggy sometime. And Melissa says, thank you for coming on live to share this info with us. You are most welcome. um, you know, Spirit said, go open your mouth and talk. I said, all right. There's a difference between knowing shit and doing something about it. A lot of people know a lot of things, and a lot of things are best kept to themselves. But when you actually live, especially if you're a teacher of any kind, and I am, but when you live in alignment with spirit, a lot of the time it is about looking at something and kind of going, okay, that's you on your path. Take care, ciao ciao, be well, and just going on. But sometimes spirit gives that green videos. We Stomfeld says, should we be adding a legal self-defense device or web to our day bags these days? If you haven't already, I'd be very surprised. But definitely around the 17th, especially if you're someone who is either going into situations that are more dangerous, especially with friends, or in the name of some altruistic cause, you may find yourself doing something that's not very good for yourself. Or even if you're dealing with electrical stuff, which is not quite your question. But if you are going to be doing something that is going to be putting you into a vulnerable position, either go with people who can help or, appropriate means of self-defense. Let's see. Famla says, hi, good to see you. London says, so glad you listen, Spirit. Only way to live. Only way to live. Laila says, hi. Hello, hello. Yeah. I would say that's about it. Seems like not much questions to have on the psychic soup. Yes, psychic soup with tang of chili coming up. So having said that, I hope everyone is reasonably well as can be. Um, oh, Christine says, "What a happy surprise to catch you live." Yeah. I hope everyone is reasonably well. Try to heed the warning in mind. That doesn't mean that you need to be afraid of things because fear doesn't make you make good choices. It doesn't. It is about being aware. Now, something comes up, so if something happens, you go, all right, this isn't some weird, creepy punishment coming. This is just something I have to spot. If you know it's going to rain, take an umbrella or don't go out. That's about it. So, having said that, I think that is a wrap. Yes, I think that is a wrap. Take care, many blessings, lots of love to all of you. And ciao, ciao for now. But just on the heels of that, I see one last question. Layla asks, is the eclipse portal still open? I'm not sure what you mean by a portal specifically, but if you mean like an area of influence for an eclipse, it's generally before or 1 week after. So it kind of down or starts to die down the moment the actual eclipse goes exact. So I think that's what you're. But yeah, I would say that's